Today it's time for another video answering a question I see on Tug all the time. Exchange companies, RCI versus Interval International, or II. Which is better? Sometimes I also see I'm leaving RCI for Interval or vice versa, and this is going to hopefully be a video I can refer back to easily for my current conclusions. Okay, so a couple of caveats that I think is important to get out there. I can only speak on the basis of two things. First, my own necessarily limited personal experience, so your experience will vary based on where you're trying to go, where you own, and when you're trying to book such trips, both when you want to be there and when you're actually going online and doing the booking. I've only had timeshares and had access to RCI only through corporate accounts for about 2.5 years, only used Interval for about a year. The other thing that I'm basing this on, however, is what I've seen people comment about on Tug, over the couple of years I've actively been on there. So I do hope I'm bringing together and synthesizing some of the other perspectives that I've seen on the Tug forums. Okay, so I'm going to be doing something a little different, new thing for the channel, which is I think I finally figured out screen recording. So I'll do some live demos recording my screen. But I'm going to still have the slides in here to kind of give you what I'm basically trying to get across and talk about. So the RCI corporate interface anyway has the far better user interface in my opinion. It has filters, it's map based, it's generally clearer about what you might be doing, whereas Interval forces you to build out a search. It doesn't have any kind of effective filters. The map is not effective as a map, and one of the biggest things that comes up for me is if I'm looking for certain size units or larger, that's entirely manual. I'm scrolling down through a list of options looking for the size unit I want. Okay, so here we go. First time with a screen recording. So this is the Club Wyndham corporate RCI account. It's pretty simple. You pull up, let's search for a vacation. And as you can see, here are some places I've searched recently. But the other thing that RCI has that's really kind of nice is just see all RCI resorts. So for an exchange, one of the things you might do is say, I just want to see everything that's available. So that's pretty cool with RCI. You can just say, show me everything that I could possibly exchange with. And here's where you can see the map comes into play. You can have it update the map kind of as you click around, and you see now that I clicked, it kind of shrunk the map to this area, so that's filtered in, and I can just, for instance, click there and kind of narrow it down some more to the eastern United States. And then let's say I wanted to go into the Florida area, and I can narrow that down. And so in a second here, it should update. Yep, when I drag it, it updates what's within that area. And I'm going to zoom out just a little bit to basically get it to zoom out a little bit. So there you can see it's not the best map interface, but wait until you see intervals. But then let's say you've got a couple other things. So well, we're not showing Mexico here. One of the things that I tend to do is always go in and say all-inclusive, not required, because I'm not interested. The fees are just ridiculous. So, okay, cool. Show me just those resorts. Nice. I didn't really change anything, but now let's say I know I need a 2-bedroom or larger. So that narrows it down a little bit. There's only 255 resorts. And then let's say, okay, well, I'm not going on the 24th of July. I'm not going in like this Thursday. So I am going to just kind of zoom along and see what's available. Let's say checking in from December 5th. And the last time I'm going to want to check in is going to be the 19th. And I can say apply. And you'll see that'll shrink it down a bit more to 142 resorts. So this is just like very quickly you can kind of exclude places that only have a single bedroom and you need 2, or places that charge high all-inclusive fees, or the dates, things that only have check-ins available in the next month. And then you can say, okay, well, I want to go to, I don't know, Island Links Resort. When you click on it, again, it opens you a new tab, and it comes through and shows you kind of this view. I always like to click all units because I already put in the date, and you can see the points, and it'll tell you, for instance, well, you can't book this one, I don't have enough points, but these ones I do, and I could just book it right now. And that's just a very convenient way to slice and dice what you're looking for, where you're looking. It's just very slick. And I also want you to just take a look at the number of options here. Just the availability and the number of places that even come up with this kind of search. The other thing I'm going to do is show you the last call availability. Now this is another place where I like to do these sorts of slicing and dicing. Now the one thing that you'll see is that's not going to work with the date set. I have to clear the filters because last call is only for the next 45 days. So I got to leave date alone, but I'm going to still say I don't care about all-inclusive, and I just want to see any resort in this area. I mean, Florida's certainly a good area, but you can see, for instance, these are all the last calls. 2 bedrooms or larger, they all start at $379 for the week. And actually, I'm not even using the map. This is actually showing kind of all that RCI has for last calls, and you can see that there were 200 resorts came up, and I can just scroll down through them, and you can see there's a lot of options. Now, one thing to keep in mind is when you're looking at these tabs, you can see that this is for 3 nights. So that may not be one you want to book when the ones all around it, granted, all around it, not physically in the world, but on this display, are full weeks. So you can keep an eye out for if it says 3 nights or 4 nights or 2 nights. But as you can see, many of these are the full week, and you know that if you click through, you're going to be able to book that. So just pay attention and think about kind of the amount of options here that came up. Okay, so now that I've shown you RCI, and it kind of makes a little more sense what I was talking about with the filters and the map availability and being kind of clear about what your point cost might be, I'm going to go over to II and just keep in mind the length of results that I was showing you there in RCI and compare it to the interval coming up here. Okay, so this is the interval login when you have just an individual interval account. As you can see, it seems to be defaulting now to getaways, and these are their version of cash deals, like the last calls and extra vacations that RCI rolled in together. As you can see, it does remember what you last put in. The problem with that, of course, is a lot of times if you were just kind of trying to see what's available out there, it will have a date in the past as the earliest travel date, and so you always have to check that and change it. You can also see down here their top getaway deals. So they sometimes will offer what seems like relatively attractive deals here, but oftentimes, for instance, if I go here to South Carolina and hover over it, you can see, oh, it's only a studio. That's kind of a small unit. Here again, studio. Here again. Now this is a 2-bedroom, so that's pretty good. If you're just coming in here and you're not looking at deals that are going to be different tomorrow or the next day, you can see that it lets you search by single destination, all destinations, resort name, code, or use map. And none of these is particularly easy to use. It will regularly complain that it can't quite match what you're looking for. But I'm going to give you an example now of using a single destination. I had picked Orlando the last time I did it, and this seems fine. to me just some time random out there in the future, and you can then go and click Find Getaway, and that's fine. It'll think for a bit and then pop up and say, okay, here's places that you could go as a getaway. Now, you'll notice in comparison to what I was showing you at RCI, this does have some of the nicer resorts like Marriott, but you'll also see, of course, the prices compared to that as well. You can see in January of next year, if you're just an interval member, which is me, I'm not a platinum member, is $1,057 for the getaway. And I don't know if you noticed, but I was looking at stuff that was significantly lower amounts in RCI. Granted, RCI has resort fees, but I think that those still come out better. The difference is, of course, you are getting a higher class of timeshare in Marriott's locations. And so you can see a lot of these are popping up. And then the thing to remember here is, in RCI, I could scroll up to the top and there would be filters of some sort along the top. But as you can see here, there's no filters. In fact, really the only filter you have is refundable or non-refundable, and that's new. If you want to know that you're going to get 2 bedrooms, instead what you have to do is kind of glance at these icons. Tell you apparently 8 people can sleep there. There are 2 bedrooms. It says 6 privacy, which I question what that even means. That would seem to imply you need 3 bedrooms. So then if you're down here and you're like, oh wait, that looks okay. Oh, it's a hotel. It's not even a 1 bedroom. Okay, let me scroll down some more. Oh, these are 1 bedrooms. And then you get into all the places that are not Marriott's, and debatable how great the Hilton Vacation Club is. This is not Hilton Grand Vacations, so this is former Diamond Resorts. But as you can see here, right, in using this, you're just scrolling and having to look at these icons, and you have to go through every one. And now imagine this was for a month, and each one still has then more dates. So, for instance, if you're like, hey, this is cool, 3 bedroom, but it's $14.99 on the 30th, but let me just see what the other dates say. Well, then you have to click on it, wait for it to load another page, then you have to scroll down again and see, oh, here's the other dates that it has in my window, and then it has more dates again, which granted is outside of my search. Well, no, it isn't even outside my search window. It sort of is. Intervals date figuring is kind of odd. So I click that again, and now it's giving me the full things that have been deposited. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't find multiple click-throughs and manually trying to see what the things over here for the sleeping capacity, as I said, that just seems not particularly efficient or easy to use. And this is for the getaways. Now, the next question is, well, what if I just want to see what interval has available as a getaway, kind of like I did in that example for RCI? Well, I have to click on, use a map. No, sorry, I take that back. See, it's so confusing. I get lost all the time in this interface. No, I have to go back to getaways, and I have to say search all destinations here, and then I have to say find getaway. And that's great, but this is what it gives you now. It gives you this list with no information. There are no resorts listed. So there are no resorts listed, and it's just a list of areas. So now, if you were like thinking to yourself, well, I wonder what's available in one of these places in the United States. Well, again, I can't see all of them in one list and scroll through the resorts and the prices and whatever, or narrow it down kind of to the East Coast of the United States. No. What I have to do is say, okay, let's start with, let's start with one of these areas like New Hampshire. Then I have to click through, I have to wait. Now I got a list of things, but again, I'm back to looking over here. How, what bedroom size is this? And I'm scrolling, and you can see there's really only 2 found. But here again, if I want to see all the dates that have come up, to click more dates again, and I have to click more dates again. And then it says, "Oh no, we didn't. We offered you more dates, but we didn't actually find anything." Well, isn't that special? I mean, this. People claim this has an interface they prefer more. I might just be unable to understand this interface. But now I'm back to, again, to get back to say, well, okay, I'm done. I had to click through all of that again. Now I want to see, well, okay, let me go a little south. What's happening in Virginia in that time, let's say? Okay, well, it's Williamsburg. Cool. So then I click through, and it's the same thing. Okay, well, there is a 2-bedroom here, for instance, but there isn't here. And I'm back to, well, I need to go ahead and hit more dates to see sort of the whole list. And I don't know if more dates will work here or give me an error. The prices are okay, but it's also like January in Williamsburg, so that's not great. So then, if I want to go back, I think I can just hit Find Getaway again, which is very unintuitive. But let me try this back button. That takes me back, okay, to this list in Williamsburg. But that's not obvious, right? Like, that is not an obvious back button. So I don't know if this is clear enough to how annoying this is to use for getaways. But I'm just going to do one more to drive this home. I had to do a search again. I couldn't go back to my list of everything on the East Coast because I don't have a list of everything on the East Coast. No, I have to click, and then I have to do another search, like I'm starting over. And then I'm thinking, well, maybe in this time, what's in Miami Beach? I don't know. Sure. Okay, cool. No, this is a Residence Inn. So this isn't even a timeshare. This is like a hotel sort of resort. And I'm going to map here for a second, because if you remember in RCI, you could kind of click on the map. You could drag it. I can't drag this. You could zoom in and out. There's no zoom in and out. All this is a different interface to the list of regions that you saw in the show Everything. So if I go, let's say, southeast, it would be region, and then you get this. And again, I don't understand. Why not just have like the same interface for both? I mean, I don't know. But let's say, okay, at least here you can say select all of them. So that's nice. And then say continue. And continue. And now I have to pick what I want to use potentially. So I'm going to say vacation exchange. And then I get to wait. And we can see this is kind of hilarious that it exchanged for itself. Sure. But you can see what comes up here. And again, this is, whatever. But you don't know, what's there. So if I had a different thing other than this Fox Run, let's say I had a Marriott or a Sheraton or something, each of those, or if I had a Worldmark, right, each of those would show a different list here, and there may be 2 bedrooms that I just don't see. So you never know what's going to show up. So that makes ongoing searches pretty hard. I tried to do an ongoing search for any Marriott anywhere in Hawaii over, I think, 6 months in 2026, and it just never matched for so long that I just ended up canceling it and doing a direct exchange, because at least then I knew I wasn't going to be 3 weeks out wondering if I was going to even get an exchange, and instead I at least knew that I got the exchange that I ended up using it for. So yeah, that is That is kind of the way that this works. And for everyone who says that this is a better interface, I have questions. Have you ever used RCI? Have you ever used a computer database with filters before? You know, well, I could be more sarcastic, but this is pretty insane in my opinion. You have to. It's called these certificates, and they remind you about it. But then you click on it, and it's like, oh, we're gonna start over because you clicked on certificate now, and it's just like smack yourself in the forehead, right? This is a good interface. Well, then you say yes, okay, I'm gonna try and redeem this certificate. And the good thing about the certificates is they're very inexpensive if you can find something that makes them work. And I guess they're kind of like last calls in a way, but you have to be, invited by being given a certificate, as opposed to just paying cash if it's available in RCI. At least this one, assumes you're probably going to be looking in the United States, so that's cool. So as you can see, though, for this month, there's not a lot of choices. I guess, we could say Florida, Daytona Beach, maybe. And this is the weird thing, too, is it's like you select, like, I don't know, okay, maybe Virginia, Shenandoah, I don't know, maybe Cocoa Beach. Like, this is also very, like, what's the difference between Florida Central and Florida Orlando? I don't know, let's click both of those. Well, I'm now at 5 of 6. This is all in July, right? There's only 2 weeks left in July. So if I click to August, I'm going to look another month forward, I get a completely different list of places to look, and the same places to look sometimes, because this is a different month that I'm looking at. So I only got one more that I could do, so I'm going to just say, I don't know, Florida, Daytona Beach, and it's like, okay, you're done now. So I click on search, and it thinks, took that out. Well, okay. This is more what I'm used to seeing with these accommodation certificates. You just don't see very much. So the place you can use them is Orlando. Well, okay. There's a lot more places I could use last calls, though, if you recall, in RCI. So that's kind of how interval works. Okay, so now that we've looked at the user interfaces, let's talk about the actual functions here. So the exchange function. RCI costs more. Often the exchanges from the corporate accounts aren't really a good value, and the exchanges, however, are clearer. There's points values that are given, and you can just see, do you have enough points to exchange or not. Interval has a lower exchange fee, but it's very unclear what exchanges may be possible, and you end up with completely different views depending on what you've deposited, and it's just generally considered to be very opaque about what would be available and whether you're being limited by actual deposits from other people or by the fact that your particular resort may not be that in demand for interval. Okay, but so outside of exchanges, what about the cash stays? Well, RCI has 2 types, so there's 2 different places to look. Extra vacations, and those go out about a year or so. The costs vary wildly. Or last calls, which are the next 45 days and seem to have somewhat fixed rates of around $379 for a 2-bedroom, plus the, of course, resort fees, etc. Those still apply. Also, many Mexican resorts have exorbitant all-inclusive fees. That's why I check that off in my filter. Also, just read the tiles, as I pointed out before. Some are for less days than a full week. Interval just has getaways. They seem to cost more generally, and it depends on the resort whether there are all-inclusive fees or resort fees. And just like everything else in Interval, a lot of times you have to click through several times to see that there's an all-inclusive fee or a resort fee. So it can be much harder to kind of filter the extra costs that aren't just in the getaway. So at the end of the day, it comes down to, what do you want to do? RCI, in my opinion, excels in cash stays for 3-ish star resorts, kind of mid-tier. Their exchanges are harder to make valuable if you're already coming from one of the major chains in RCI like Wyndham or Hilton Grand Vacations Club, but it can let you rescue points you otherwise could not use. It also has been obvious to me, and I think it should have been obvious to you from some of the examples that I did in the video here, that RCI has way more options and availability. If it wasn't as obvious, it's because I was picking some good locations for interval down in Florida to try and have a few options, but many times there's one or two, and as you saw, sometimes it's not even a timeshare. But interval does seem to be better for exchanges if you can see the desired resorts, just because you can get into the Marriotts, you can get into Disney sometimes, and the exchange fee is lower. And most of the Marriott resorts don't have resort fees, so that's a better value. So, what's my conclusion? Well, I think obviously having access to both is best because each does different things well, but you also then need to have at least two timeshares in most cases, or one independent timeshare that can be in both systems, and you're paying two membership fees in one way or another. If I had to pick just one, I think I'd go with RCI just for the cash deals. They're such a multiplier on the value of having the timeshare, and they have so much more availability that it's just more realistic to use, even when you have so much flexibility that I do in when I can go on trips. The limitations of interval outside of, I guess, constantly going to Orlando for a Marriott makes it much, much harder for me to find usable stays. And I think that that's really important for people to understand. Okay, so at the end of all this, what do you think? Which interface did you think was better? Which exchange company do you think is more useful? Do you have any other questions? Put them in the comments down below, or come on over to Tug and get more questions answered by more people than just me, people who have even more experience than I do with timesharing.